All right, good afternoon. This is Good Afternoon Ghana. My name is Audu Moro. Sorry about that. We had a little technical hitch. And so initially when I was talking, you couldn't actually hear me. But I hope you can hear me now. Well, Good Afternoon Ghana today is going to touch on a very, very, very tacky and a very, very important, a very critical topic. It's been making the rounds. I'm sure you've been following it. We're talking about the new bill, which has finally been passed in Parliament by a majority consensus. It's called the Promotion of Proper Sexual Human Rights and Family Values, but of course popularly known as the anti-gay bill. But this bill, which was passed last week Wednesday, has triggered all kinds of reactions. Now, the latest narrative in town is that this bill will have very, very, very serious consequences and ramifications for this country. Now, there are some who say it is not true. This is just a Western propaganda. But there are also some who are saying that if you look at what Uganda and a few other African countries who passed similar bills have had to go through, Ghana cannot afford to sort of ignore the concerns of those who say, let's be careful and let's tread cautiously. The bill, we're told this afternoon, is actually on its way to the presidency. We're waiting for the president, I guess, after 21 days or so, to, assent, to put as a signature on the bill or to assent to the bill. Then it becomes law. And essentially, this bill is supposed to, it basically proscribes LGBT activities and criminalizes its promotion, advocacy, and funding. But that's not really the focus of our conversation today, which is look at the aspects of the bill. There will be time for that. In fact, it's something that the production team is working on. But we need to deal with this issue about the consequences of passing the bill. I'll be introducing my resource persons shortly. But before I do that, there are a few reactions that have come. One from the IMF, the other from the World Bank, and the other one from the Chief Executive Officer of the Africa Prosperity Network. We know him because he's somebody who is a stalwart within the New Patriotic Party. And so when he speaks, a lot of people like to quote the things he says. So first of all, let's check out what the World Bank, yes, the IMF, first of all, it says the IMF says it is keeping, so IMF keeps close eye on Ghana following passage of anti-LGBTQ bill. I wish I could just read a paragraph, just a paragraph, Josiah, so that our viewers can appreciate what I'm actually referring to. And it says, International Monetary Fund has stated its vigilance regarding recent developments in Ghana, and the country's lawmakers approved a bill proposing up to 3 years of imprisonment for individuals identifying as LGBTQ. In a statement issued from the headquarters in Washington, the IMF underscored its commitment to values of diversity and inclusion, stating that such principles are embraced within the institution. So that's from the IMF. Let's now check out what the World Bank has also been saying. Josiah, let's check out what the World Bank has also been saying about the same matter, and then we'll look at that of the Africa Prosperity Network Chief Executive Officer as well. So let me quickly do this and read to you what the World Bank has also been saying as far as this matter is concerned. So this is what the World Bank says. Now, the World Bank says that it says the World Bank is threatening to cancel loans earmarked in Ghana over the passing of the controversial anti-LGBTQ plus bill, known formally as the Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill 2024. The Bretton Woods institution, whose funding this year is seen as crucial to sustaining Ghana's program with its sister body, the International Monetary Fund, has raised concerns over the potential impact of the promotion of the proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian values bill on the that's on the implementation of the World Bank project and activities in Ghana. That's just to give you a snapshot of what the World Bank is saying. So that's what the World Bank. Now I want us to look at what Gabi Asare-Ochodakun has been saying, who's the Chief Executive Officer of the Africa Prosperity Network. He's actually the founder and the Chief Executive Officer of that. Now check out what he says. Gabi writes, he says, Ghana's parliament, which is vested the sovereign will of the people, has democratically passed a harsher anti-LGBTQ bill. Yes, democratically. In fact, the threat of being unseated for standing for the rights of gays, etc., certainly created its own culture of silence in the House. But it is the decision of Parliament and one which enjoys huge popular support in the country. The world must understand that. One must understand that. It says, but Ghanaians must also understand that it comes with consequences. Choices have consequences. We expect the media and the politicians to be fair to the people by letting them know the pros and cons of this decision, to impose stiffer penalties against gays, etc. We also respect those who believe the bill is constitutionally wrong to do what is right and go to court. So that's what he says. Interesting. Let me now bring in the my resource persons for this afternoon. So I have, in fact, the three of them are all going to be joining us via Zoom. So they're joining us digitally. Professor Baffour Agyeman-Duah is the former UN Senior Governance Advisor. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for joining us, and good afternoon, Ghana. Hello, Prof. Can you hear me? Prof, yes, please unmute your microphone so that I can hear you clearly, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I heard you. I said thank you for having me.
Wonderful. It's good to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be with you.
Thank you very much. Now, Professor Lord Mensah, finance lecturer, University of Ghana Business School, is also joining us. Good afternoon, Prof. Thank you very much for your time. Hello, Professor Lord Mensah. Hello, Prof. Okay, I'm sure that Prof. Lord Mensah is sorting out his Zoom connection. I also have Professor John Osei Bobie-Boahene. He's a lecturer at KNUST and a political commentator. Prof, are you with me? Professor John Osei Bobie-Boahene, are you there, sir? Good afternoon. Okay, all right. So I'll be joined by the other two professors shortly via Zoom. So let me start with Professor Baffour Agyeman-Duah. So, Prof, I'm told Professor Lord Mensah joined us. So, Prof, yes, Prof, good afternoon. It's good to have you on the show. Please unmute your microphone so I can hear you, sir. Okay, so Professor Lord Mensah, if you're still listening to me, unmute your microphone. Kindly unmute your microphone so that I can hear you. So I'll start with Professor Baffour Agyeman-Duah. So maybe let me take inspiration from what Gabi has said. Gabi Asare-Ochidak. He says, choices have consequences. It is important for the politicians and all who care about this country to let Ghanaians know what the consequences of the decision our legislators or our MPs have made so that they're fully aware. Do you agree that's what should be the way forward?
Of course, I totally agree with that. Any decision you make in life, on a personal level, on a community level, on a national level, must have some consequences. So the decision that has been made by Parliament, certainly, looking at the global climate on this issue of LGBTQ+, there's no doubt that once they become law, certain global actors will act negatively, and that will have implications for us. So Gabi is dead on the mark. Sure.
He also says, I still believe, though, that we can balance our traditional family values with our traditional values of tolerance and diversity. Do you agree with him on that as well?
You see, Gabi is very diplomatic in his statement. He's calling for some kind of balancing act by those opposed and those in favor of the bill, particularly because of the implication that he himself knows too well. As you know, this will have implications directly on our economy. And we have an economy that's already on its knees. We've been bailed out by the IMF, the World Bank, and other donor countries, the United States and others, the Western countries. And all of them are dead set against any country that will do that, except those countries that are self-sustaining. And I want to emphasize that. Countries that are self-sustaining. For instance, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all these Middle Eastern countries, Egypt. Egypt receives $2.5 billion a year from the United States for its security.
Yeah, hello?
Egypt, they do not tolerate. Egypt they don't tolerate this LGBT. Okay? So if you are not self-sustaining,
why is it not coming?
Then you open yourself up for these so-called powers and the global system, the IMF, the IFIs, to treat you like a boy. And that's exactly what is happening. So if Gabi is saying there are consequences, it is correct. If we decide to back the bill, certainly we are going to pay heavily in economic terms because we are not self-sustaining. But that does not make the argument that we should not. So it's a different story.
I see. That's interesting, Prof. Let me now go to Professor Lord Mensah. Professor Lord Mensah, we've already seen a statement from the Finance Ministry. In fact, it's a statement that was issued a while ago. I think it must have been like an hour ago, of which I have a copy. And in that statement, the Finance Ministry is saying it actually held an emergency meeting with the central bank governor, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things that came up in that meeting and the decision that came up in that meeting was, let's be careful because there will be serious, dire consequences if we go ahead to pass this bill into law. It talks about some quantum, huge amount of money that Ghana will be losing if it does go ahead to pass this law, and talks about the fact that it will have some dire consequences on the IMF program, which we're currently under, and so on and so forth. I'm sure you've seen that Finance Ministry statement. What do you have to say about it?
Yeah, Moro, let me say good afternoon to our viewers. You see, it's unfortunate the economy finds itself at this level, and at the same time, we had to get exposed to such situation. I think we had times that the president was talking about Ghana beyond aid, and that is about 7 years now. If we were to work towards it, for which the country becomes independent, self-reliant, I don't think some of these calls would have been necessary. Now, from where I sit, there's quantums of money that the Ministry of Finance has issued a statement on. We've been receiving this money all these years. What has it done to, myself and you? Has this money transcend into, development? No. We keep on bouncing back to them, back and forth. And it's like we have our hands in these Western powers. And as a result of that, they can push us to, ignore our values. We are Africans. And so from where I sit, I would suggest that the president should go ahead to assent this bill. And that will make our leadership responsible. I believe that, because of some of these freebies that we've been enjoying, grant and aid from this, Bretton Woods institution, together with the Western powers, that is what is making our leadership irresponsible, not trying to look inward, always relying on free monies that will come from, these people. And as a result of that, they want to dictate which direction, our economy must go. At the same time, they want to venture into our core values as Africans. And so I think we have to look beyond that. And if the president should go ahead to assent the bill, and all this, money cease to come, I think we may have to take the bull by the horn as Africans, and then get to know what is happening. The countries like Uganda and all those that have, assented to such bills, I don't think, the people are dying on the street. I think we need to be proud of ourselves as Africans. And for once, we need to make sure that the Western powers, we have to make sure that, they see, that as Africans, we respect our values rather than succumbing to, such monetary, pressures.
I see. Let me go to Professor Bobie Boahene, who's also joined us on Zoom. Prof, so let me also say good afternoon to you, and thank you very much for joining us on Good Afternoon Ghana. Hello, Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us on Good Afternoon Ghana here on Metro TV. You are on record to have stated quite boldly that the president should not ascend this bill. The president should not sign it into law. What's your reason? What are your bases for asking that the president should not sign this bill into law?
Well, it is very simple. Considering the situation that the nation went through recently, whereby the people of Ghana started complaining bitterly concerning the economic challenges that we've been facing so far, the IMF interventions and all that, and consider the fact that IMF intervention somehow has come to relieve the nation of the burden or the hardship that we're going through to some extent, it would be appropriate for any president to sign such a bill, knowing very well that the donors who support us to and also help us to get out of this problem will just look at us and continue to give us their donation. Meanwhile, they've given us a warning that, look, if you sign this bill, we are going to think again. So invariably, it simply means that if you really want to depend on them and you don't have the resources to carry on with governance as expected, then you need to be very careful. That's why I said the president should not sign it now, but he should sign it when he has about 7 days to leave office. So those who think that they can, stand the weight and the challenges of the times could then come and face the music.
But the president...
So currently, Ghana is not self-sufficient. Okay? We virtually depend on this Western world for everything. And it's not their doing. It's our own doing. It's our own doing, the way we have managed our things. We are not self-reliant. So if you want, like somebody said, if you want to live in my country, you follow my rules. If you can't follow my rules, you leave my country. And that's the simple thing that they've told us. If you want us to continue to help you, then simply refuse to sign. But if you sign, we take away our aids. And I think that, considering the position we find ourselves now, there's no way we can live on our own. Because the very people who are shouting, sign the bill, sign the bill, sign the bill, will turn around to attack you for the economic challenges we are facing. Meanwhile, the challenges, the problem we are encountering now, did not start from yesterday. It didn't start from last year. It didn't start during Akufo-Addo's era. It started years back. So we as a nation must concede to the fact that we don't have any serious option now. The only option that we have now may be to agree to the demand of the Western world for the time being, whilst we sit down to plan how to get out of this net, or we agree that Akufo-Addo should go and sign. Meanwhile, we are not going to tackle him with any challenges that will come thereafter. If as a nation we can take such a decision, then I think we can have a headway. Otherwise, considering that what has gone on so far, our behavioral pattern, the opposition know very well that if Akufo-Addo refuse to sign, the Western world are going to take away whatever support they are giving him in the last days of his governance. And they know that they are going to attack Akufo-Addo for misleading the country and not ruling the country appropriately. Considering all these factors, they know it very well, but they are saying it. To me, we are not showing patriotism because we are refusing to face the realities of the times. And what are the realities of the times? The realities is that we are not self-sufficient. We are not self-sufficient. Should Akufo-Addo leave the scene, let the opposition party or any other party come, the same challenge will be there. until we as a people agree that we are not going to hold anybody accountable. We are all going to start afresh to make sure that we get out of the hook of the Western world. If we so agree, so be it. Then we can ask him to sign. So that when they play the music, we all dance to it. Nobody will be accusing anybody for any economic hardship. But for now, I will not advise Akufo-Addo to sign. I would rather ask him to sign when he has 7 days to leave office. So that whoever comes will then come and continue and give whatever manner there is to Ghanaians. But I will simply say that if we really want to get out of the hook of this Western world, then we need to consider the fact that we don't really need to hold anybody at ransom. But holistically, we come together to build a nation as one people. But if we continue with the kind of politicking that we are doing, Akufo-Addo is causing problem for the country. There is economic hardship. At the same time, the source of his financial support, we are telling him to forgo that source. Then I think we will be fair with Akufo-Addo. So I'll simply conclude by saying that if I'm to advise Akufo-Addo, I'll tell him for the time being to delay. When he has about 7 days to leave office, then he signs.
Okay, but Prof, Prof, given the kind of pressure that the president has come under, the members of the clergy, the chief imam's office, civil society organizations, and almost every Ghanaian is looking up to the president to sign this bill. Don't you think that if the president delays the signing of this bill to, like you say, 7 days before he leaves office, that can have some serious consequences for the party's, quest to break the 8?
Well, I've said it somewhere that, look, Akufo-Addo belongs to a political party. Now the bill has been passed by Parliament, and we want to get it implemented. Now, if we implement it, we are going to face this very economic challenge that will deny this government the financial strength to save this country so that Akufo-Addo will hand over peacefully when everybody is at peace economic-wise. We have this. So if the party and all those people, particularly if MPP members, really want Akufo-Addo to sign for the sake of winning political votes, then the leadership of the party must start serious publicity work. Because, my brother, the fact remains that if you sign, the money, the resources of relief will not come. If the relief resources are not coming, people are going to complain. Now, how do you get people to understand why you are not going to sign it today, but rather you will sign it maybe a day or two before you leave office? It means you must send your people to the ground. They must educate the public, the populace. We have existing rules, we have existing laws, okay, that hinges on this same LGBTQ issue that restrain people from a man from marrying a woman, another man, and a woman from marrying a woman. The laws are already there.
Okay.
Okay? So if the laws are there, who is informing the public that for the time being, we can suspend signing this document and deal and control the issue with these very rules?
Okay.
Who is aware of it?
Right.
So to me, publicity work is so much demanded from the ruling government. Otherwise, the challenge is there. You will sign, the Western world will refuse to give you whatever money they want to give you.
Okay.
The same Ghanaians will turn around to complain. So the choice is up to Akufo-Addo. To me, not to up to Akufo-Addo. It's up to the party.
Okay.
It's not too late.
All right, Prof.
A lot of people do not know.
I get it, Prof. I get the point you're making. Please hang in there. I'm going to be speaking to your other colleagues who have joined us digitally, via Zoom, to pick their thoughts on the proposal that you're making or the opinion that you've expressed, and then I'll come back to you. So please hang on. I'll come back to you, sir. All right. Now, Professor Agyemang-Duah, you heard Professor John Osei-Bobieh-Boahene. I mean, he's of the view that, look, we're already in some really, very difficult economic crisis. The president signs this bill, is only going to make matters worse. And so he would advise the president to buy time so that, maybe it's about 7 days before he exits office, he can then sign the bill, hoping that at the time things will get a bit better. Otherwise, the same Ghanaians who say they want this bill to be passed will be the same Ghanaians who punish him if the economy gets worse. What do you think about this this position, which has been canvassed by Professor John Osei-Bobieh?
Well, let me tell you up front, that is his opinion, and I do not subscribe to that opinion.
Right.
At all. I think the opinion expressed earlier by Lord, my colleague, is where I stand. But you see, what I'm disturbed about the bill, and it's not the reason the president should not sign, is that there are certain clauses that are truly against basic human rights.
Okay.
That for your sexual preference, you should be punished, you should be jailed. That you're asking citizens to snitch on others, reporting them because of their difference, the different sexual preference that they have, and you want to imprison them. Those are parts that I do not like. But I think it's important that the value that we want to protect should be protected. And the president, being a lawyer, I believe knows too well those fundamental aspects of the bill that are contrary to certain basic rights. If the president can negotiate with Parliament to amend this, I know there was a long debate in Parliament, and somehow they failed to take away the punishing, the penalties and all, because look, somebody may choose to do something in his bedroom. I do not subscribe to this idea that there should be advocacy. So I do not, but I think the president should sign it once those fundamental aspects have been amended. Having said that, let me go to make the point. This threat by the IMF, the United States, Western countries basically, that they will withdraw support if the bill is signed, I do not take them seriously at all.
Really?
And that's why I like the point. Yeah, I don't. Look, loans and aids have made us lazy as a people. It has made us not to think of alternatives to our sustenance. It is true that if they withdraw, like I think Professor Osei is saying, we're going to have some serious economic challenges immediately and maybe in the immediate term. But that should not frighten us to do what is right for the people. Look, in the United States, just last week, Tennessee passed a law that restricts advocacy of LGBT in their schools and raising flags and all. They don't allow it. And that is the 13th state in the United States that have placed some limits on the extent to which the LGBT movement can operate. Has the federal government chastised them? They have not. The government has not. When the Supreme Court decided to revert the Roe versus Wade, abortion, depriving women of their right to decide what is good for them, we all sat around. Did anybody accuse them of violating human rights? I think this thing that the Western countries are doing to Ghana and Africa in general should not be just accepted because we are poor. We are poor because we have failed to manage our resources over the years. We are poor because we have failed to utilize our brains to think what is right to do. We have used our brains to cheat and be corrupt and steal resources that can go and build the country. And it has been easy for our governments to go around to beg and get money, and therefore government do not even think on what is right to do. And that is the problem. That is the problem. I do agree with Lord Mensah. Look, I think we need to take a stance. We are not schoolboys here for a State Department to issue a statement on Ghana. It's only because our leaders, not only Akufo-Addo, but the African leaders generally, we go and line up before these people begging for crumbs. And that's why we are where we are. So, but one thing I can agree with the last speaker, Professor Osei, is that the government must undertake a serious public education.
Okay.
If you are going to sign the bill, for the people to understand the implications, that we have our dignity we need to protect. And the consequences of doing that is that certain economic benefits we enjoy will be taken away. And the people should understand that. Oftentimes, we do things, certain policies are introduced without educating the public and becomes a problem for government. So in that respect, I do agree with him. But the fact that they are threatening us and we need the money, that's why I don't buy it at all. Look, if you know how much money we could have saved for what we've been wasting all these years, we should not have been in this position for the Western country to dictate and tell us how we should behave culturally. Nobody tells them that.
Professor Lord Mensah, if again, back to the Finance Ministry's statement that he issued, I'm going to be reading a portion of it because it helps me to ask my next question. It talks about the impact on the World Bank funded programs. It says the expected $300 million financing from the First Ghana Resilient Recovery Development Policy Operation budget support, which is currently pending parliamentary approval, might not be disbursed by the bank when it's approved by Parliament. Number two, ongoing negotiations on the second Ghana Resilient Recovery Development Policy Operations budget support amounting to $300 million may be suspended. 3, ongoing negotiations for $250 million to support the Ghana Financial Stability Fund may be suspended. 4, disbursement of undisbursed amounts totaling $2.1 billion for ongoing projects, which will be suspended. And 5, preparation of pipeline projects and declaration of effectiveness for 2 projects totaling worth $900 million may be suspended. Full details of the World Bank portfolio attached as Appendix 1 and 2. In total, Ghana is likely to lose $3.8 billion in World Bank financing over the next 5 to 6 years. For 2024, Ghana will lose $600 million budget support, $250 million for the Financial Stability Fund. This will negatively impact on Ghana's foreign exchange reserves and exchange rate stability, as these inflows are expected to shore the country's reserve position. Now, it talks about the impact on the implementation of the 2024 budget, and it says the potential loss of these financial resources creates a financing gap in the 2024 budget that must be addressed either through a significant reduction in the expenditures or additional domestic revenue mobilization. And it says, failing this, government's ability to achieve the target in the 2024 budget will be undermined, and IMF ECF program will be derailed. And it talks about the impacts on the IMF as well. But then it concludes, of course, talks about the impacts on debt restructuring program, impacts on African Development Bank. Now, interestingly, the only the only international organization which has actually supported this move is the African Development Bank, and it's actually contained in that statement as well. Now, it goes ahead to talk about a possible adverse reaction from Germany and other European communities and so on and so forth. Now, is this something we should take lightly? I mean, can we survive this? If indeed all of these threats that the finance minister tells us potentially can hit us, if indeed it happens, can we survive it?
Yes. So I've looked at the statement issued by the Minister of Finance, and I'm surprised at the ministry just looking at the short-term economic impact on the country. What about the long term? Let's assume that this is a decision where we may look at it as cost benefit in effect, where we are looking at the immediate benefit as a result of these IMF releases, World Bank support, and all these grants and all those.
Prof, please unmute, Prof, because I can hardly hear you, sir. Prof, please unmute.
Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you. I can hear you now.
So
yes.
We are looking at, you see, it's unfortunate the ministry is looking at a short-term impact. But, I mean, we have to position it in the long term. Because if you look at the happenings on the grounds, if we go out, let's assume that we go all out to allow this gayism and all those to, have its way in our country. You know the economic cost? Do you know how much it will cost us to import adult diapers and all those? And some of the medicines, we may not get them in our environment, and we have to import them. So if the big countries have gotten to a point where they can absorb the economic cost of this gayism, why should they follow suit? We're already vulnerable. So from that perspective, I will not support, the second speaker who said the president should sign the bill when he's about to exit. And as a result of that, he should conscientize Ghanaians. There is a reason why we have these core values. And that reason being that you cannot afford some of these medical bills that goes with, gayism and lesbianism and others. So I think we have to look at it in a long term. In a short term, yes, of course, we need to sacrifice. And if you look into the ministry statement, clearly they've made provision in case the president should assign it. They've mentioned that, yes, if the president should go ahead to ascend the bill, we have to leverage on the Ghana Beyond, aid principles and change the economic structure through revenue mobilization, ensure that we prioritize our expenditure. And by so doing, we should be able to withstand some of these, economic consequences. So we have to look at it in a long term. In the long term, it's going to affect our exchange rate because most of the sickness that goes with gayism and lesbianism, we cannot afford, to get the medicines in Ghana, and we have to import them, which will affect our exchange rate and all those. So I'm looking at it in a long term, not just, short term, the immediate effect of in any case, the IMF agreement we had, even though it has been spread from now to 2026, in the agreement, there's nowhere in the agreement that indicates that if we don't assent, if we go ahead to assent this, anti-gay bill, they will withdraw the support they are giving us. Now, we can go ahead to assent it, but then if it turns up that they should withdraw, of course, they did not go by, the conditions of the agreement. We needed a support from them, and the support has a plan. Once we assent this bill, we're able to meet the target they are looking for as a result of expenditure rationalization, prioritization of our expenditure, and then revenue mobilization. I think, it goes beyond just, this bill. And there's nowhere in the bill that talks about, lesbianism and LGBTQ and all those. So I think we have to go ahead to assent it, and it will protect the country in the long term, rather than thinking of the short-term benefit, which has to do with these releases and other things. And also, as I said in my earlier submission, we have to ensure that, our leaders get responsible. Some of these freebies have made, our leaders, turn around to be lazy, as, Professor Baffour indicated. And they've been lazy in such a way that they have sacrificed our, export-oriented policies for, some of these freebies. So our leadership has refused to sacrifice, go through, the rudiment of supporting our homegrown policies that will enhance export to bring in the dollars. So they've been relying on these freebies that brings in the dollars. So I think we have to go ahead. And if we want our economic independence, this is where we can prove it. This is where we can show to the world that we can work hard and be independent, rather than, bowing to or succumbing to some of these pressures that are tied to, the freebies and monies that flow to us. If you go ahead to assent it and they withdraw, I think we have to sacrifice. And like the third speaker indicated, we have to conscientize Ghanaians that this is the economic situation, and about time we bite, the bullet. So I think I do support that. It's more of our values than the immediate benefit that we enjoy, and then also the long-term economic cost, which has to do with the medications and other things that will go with this all-out gayism and lesbianism and other things that goes with it.
I see. Professor John Osei Bubiebo, and I want to believe you're still on.
Yes, Good morning.
Yes. Now, we've had because you are saying that the president should delay the assenting to the bill
Yes.
because it would have far-reaching economic implications or consequences for
Definitely.
us. And so for you, it's in fact, I mean, you only fell short of saying that this looks more like a trap. If the president falls in this trap, he's going to be in trouble. But here's the thing. The minority leader, or let me say the NDC leadership in parliament have said that if the president fails to sign this bill, they will use the 2/3 majority in parliament approach to get it into law. And so there is another route that parliament can use to get to make sure that this becomes law if the president decides not to sign it. So it appears that whichever way, the proponents of the bill and the House of Legislature are hell-bent, they're committed, in fact, fully to making sure that this becomes law. So where does this leave the president's, what you would want to term as, feet-dragging attitude in wanting to sign it, if indeed that is what he intends to do? Because for now, we don't know if the president wants to do that.
Yeah, in reality, just as they said, not that we are against the signing of the bill. No.
Okay.
We are looking at the political implication in the short term. You see, sometimes we say that it's easier said than done. When you sit in the comfort of your office, you can simply say that you go and sign. But then you must count the cost as a politician. And who are going to be your judges? The populace of Ghana. The electoral populace of Ghana. So you only buy time to conscientize the people to understand why you have to take certain steps. So I'm going to take this step, Ghanaians. And these are the implications for the step that I take. You must educate the people, make the people aware. If the people so agree, then you know that you are not going to be at a loss. That's why we say that is somehow something like a trap. To me, there is nothing like impossibility. If the party in power so desire, they can start immediate campaign on the gains and losses concerning the signing of this bill. Ghanaians must be informed so that they themselves will agree should the Hasi begin to drop. Then the president and the party will not be held accountable. But as a political party, you count on numbers, you count on winning votes. It is easy for the NDC party to say that, look, sign. If you do not sign, we are going to do this, this, and that. But tell me, are you sure they can get 2/3 majority of parliament now? It's not possible.
Parliament unanimously voted for it, so I'm not. I won't
Yes,
be
they did
surprised
that.
if they can get 2/3 of parliament to pass it into law. Oh,
Yes,
sorry, together. Yes.
But take notice of this.
Yes.
We have the party loyalty. When the fortune of the party is at stake. That is why I'm saying that nobody is against the passing of the bill. I understand the legal. I'm not a legal person. Those who know law, the legal people have said that there are some corrections that they think the president wants to do and all that. And I'm saying that whether he does the corrections or not, it will be appropriate for him to buy time. And in buying time, to get Ghanaians conscientized.
Okay.
So that
before he goes ahead.
Today,
okay.
Yes. Should he sign it today and the Western world begin to bring their pressure, then every Ghanaian will understand the price we have to pay for doing this. And not this alone. There are other things that we need to submit to. And I said earlier, sometimes we say, abide, government. Some of us are also at fault. We sit in the comfort of our offices and we look at somebody at Jubilee House, forgetting that we are also part of it. What are we? The civil
Prof.
society.
Good, Prof. You're making some very interesting points. Please hang on a minute. No, hang on, please. Hold on, Prof.
Okay.
Yes, I'll come to you. I know you have a lot to say. So I have to take a short break. It's just about 30 seconds or so. Please hang in a minute. I'll come back to you so you can proceed with your submission on this matter. But whilst let me say 0244 262 314. 0244 262 314. I know you have opinions that you intend to express on what we're talking about. We're talking about whether there are any possible economic, social, or political ramifications for Ghana if it goes ahead to pass this, the proper human sexual rights and family values, which popularly known as the anti-gay bill, into law. And we have, experts who are educating us on what we should be expecting, even though all of them agree that it must be passed. But it's just the timing. I'll take a short break. When I come back, I'll be expecting to hear from you. All right, welcome back. This is Good Afternoon Ghana. Good Afternoon Ghana this afternoon is assessing and evaluating and interrogating the question whether indeed Ghana will be facing any serious consequences if it goes ahead to pass the anti-gay bill into law. We're waiting for the president to do that after a number of days, I think 21 days or so, I stand to be corrected. But we have Professor Agyemang, who is a former UN governance advisor. He's been talking about it. Professor John Osei-Bobiebua, he's a lecturer at KNUST and also a political commentator, and also Professor Lord Mensah, who is an associate professor of finance, University of Ghana Business School. Gentlemen, I'll just give everybody two minutes each to give us their concluding remarks about Professor Agyemang. Do you think that this decision that the president has to make, it's really a catch-22 situation because it's not going to be an easy one?
I think in the context of the statements by my good friend in Kumasi, Professor Osei, as a political actor, he's in that kind of situation. And I can now appreciate Professor Osei's point because it's coming strictly from a political angle. If you want to be a political partisan, that would be a good advice you give to your president. But I did not look at it that way. I think I'm looking at the larger interest of the country, which is to say, as the Lord has been saying, we as a people, we have to begin to be self-sustaining. So we have to be inward-looking and begin to have strategies that will break us away from our overdependence on the international economy. Until we do that, we are going to go the 18, 19, 20 to the 100th time to the IMF. And I don't think any nation will have any kind of respect, any kind of dignity if we continue to do that. The reason why the IMF and the World Bank and the United States and other countries are coming down on us is because we don't have that kind of dignity. We've been accepting crumbs from them over the years. We go back for everything. So they have no respect for us.
Yeah.
That is why they are treating us this way. So I think we have to have a long-term strategy as a nation to wean ourselves from this overdependence so we can be self-sustained. Until we do that, I'm afraid next time they will come and tell us when to sleep, where to sleep, and when to wake up. That's what is going to happen. And I don't think we deserve that. We need to have our leaders to sit up, to begin to think like this. He mentioned the Ghana Beyond Aid. Beautiful concept. Nothing happened. Ghana Beyond Aid. So I think my point is simple. As a politician, the president can take the advice of Professor Osei, and it's an excellent one. But I'm thinking beyond politics.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more in terms of this country, how we can sustain ourselves and regain our self-dignity.
Thank you very much, Professor Agyemang, for your time. I'll also take about 2 minutes of Professor Lord Mensah's time to give us his concluding remarks. Prof, if I'm to capture, in essence, what you said, which is, look, this perhaps presents us with a fine opportunity for us to start looking at the structure of our economy, restructure a few things, look within, so that we don't have to depend on foreign aid.
Yes, so we have to take opportunity to signal to the Western world that, it's about time we get our economic independence. And, I don't dissociate economic decisions from political decisions. In fact, the policymaker is a politician. And whatever decision they take is what, affects the economy. Yeah. So from where I sit, I'm looking at it in the long term, the long-term effect of this bill on our economy, rather than the short term, the freebies that we're going to get from this Bretton Woods institution, and then the foreign support that we're going to get, as well. If you put all together, I would say that the long-term economic cost, right, will be more than, the short-term benefit that the ministry has issued, statement on. So let's pause. We don't have to, look at this as something that will derail this economy completely. It's about time we look inwards, and therefore the president should be bold enough to go ahead to sign, this bill.
All right, Professor Lord Mensah, thank you very much as well. Professor John Osei Bobi Boahene, anything else you want to add in about a minute?
Yeah, I appreciate the comment made by my professors. And together we all agree to the fact that the bill must be signed, except that I think we should have a short-term and long-term decisions to make. To me, this is an opportunity for all civil societies, religious organizations to come together, that we as a people, we shout, just as Nehemiah said, let us rise up and build. Let the challenges be spelled out to us. Let all the problems that we will encounter be spelled out to us. Let the benefits, the long-term benefits, be also spelled out to us. And let us get alliance and come together as one people to liberate ourselves from this hook of which we always find ourselves. Government comes, government goes, and we are in the same decision. We need to take a decision.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor John Osei Bobi Boahene. I want to thank also Professor Agyemang, who is a former UN governance advisor. I also want to say a big thanks to Professor Lord Mensah, University of Ghana Business School. He's an associate professor of finance. My name is Audu Moro. Thanks for watching. It's been another edition of Good Afternoon Ghana. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.